Baby bears have taken the bull boys by the horns as Bitcoin right now has initiated a giga move that may dump the price big time. But is it all over for the moon boys? Or are the baby bears sniffing a little too much of their own supply? Right now the moon boys are clenching their cheeks ever so tightly in anticipation of what could be the very first breakdown of the last 2 months. And so this is a huge revelation, a huge development in the charts that we're going to be taking a look at. First thing you might notice, if you look at the S&P, the SPX, we are at a fairly high level for the past month. The highest level we've actually seen going all the way back to July of 2023. So multiple months in a very good position after we just initiated a bullish cross for the SPX. So that's not bad. And the DXY continues to look absolutely disgusting. Guys, it looks absolutely so bad. It doesn't look very bullish to me. The DXY looks like it wants to continue getting dumped on, diddled, and pushed into a corner, shoved into a locker, if you will. So this is also equally as well a big development. Now, what we're all here for, what we all want to see is Bitcoin on the daily chart. What are we doing? Well, Bitcoin has been straddling the 21-day moving average harder than a middle-aged woman straddles her pillow. This is absolutely unheard of. This is truly a very big revelation. And the 21-day moving average is big. And guys, I want to say one thing before we actually continue with these charts. This type of price action, the type of setup we have here, in my opinion, is something we see before we sometimes get pullbacks. So as I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, if we have a retest of some of those levels around 32 and a little lower than 32,000, not only is that not bad, it's healthy. So does that mean we're going to be getting the pullback? Well, let's jump into a few more charts here. So right now we're still above the 21-day moving average, but we could see that change pretty quickly. Now, before we dig our heels into the shorter time frames, clearly we're still watching this. Over the next few weeks, it's very likely we will be getting the largest golden cross in the history of mankind, which is huge. We see this was our very first death cross we got back at the very beginning of this year. And to really initiate Mega Giga Bull Mode Bull Run 2000, 3000, then yes, we will be getting a Giga Golden Cross. So let's actually look at a few charts here. So if we really dive into the short-term charts for Bitcoin, are we right now in the middle of a rising channel? You can see it's expanding as well. Oftentimes you see this before some sort of breakdown. However, currently at this very second, we're still holding support. Really, the main takeaway from this is that since October 23rd, so it's been well over a month now, we have been even our sideways consolidation has had an upward bias to it, or an upward bias to it. Even on our most boring moments where we have pumps, but we have sideways, no dumps really yet. But even the sideways has been slowly going up. So really, over the past month, we have had no real big dumpage. And you can see, I mean, obviously you could point out something like this, but I mean, guys, if within a couple 4-hour candles it immediately reverses and goes higher than before that, I mean, that's not really a dump, right? So with that being said, the price has been very bullish, very constructive for well over a month. And if we zoom out even further, really this began the October 15th. So it's been about 6-7 weeks where we've had some nice gainers. Now as well, everyone, I'm sure, is very aware at this point of this over 500-day long, and this is very important for everything besides Bitcoin, but also can help Bitcoin price as well. Alts have absolutely led Bitcoin and everything else out of bearish cycles. Remember Litecoin back in 2019, for pizza's sake, in the summer. That was crazy. We've seen alts do that. In fact, alts lead Bitcoin for mere moments or just a couple of days very, very, very often. So with that, the largest ascending triangle right now exists. If we go back, this is, over 500 days. It's actually closer to 600 days than it is to 500 days. But about 560 or so days in this ascending triangle with a breakout target well above $3,000 per ETH. We're right now, again, as we've stated many times, right at the itsy bitsy titsy top of this. This is gigantic, and there's literally no word big enough to describe how big this is. So excuse me using the word big, enormous, gigantic so much, but there simply doesn't exist a word that's big enough to describe how big this truly is. Also, guys, Bitcoin dominance, as I've said, I think we're potentially continuing a downtrend here as we enter the halving, which is a very big development. But looking at Bitcoin on its daily chart, realistically, we have some pretty massive levels of support below us. First big pit stop is around 34,000 if we truly get a big breakdown. Again, I'm not personally convinced we'll get the biggest breakdown, but one of the charts I'm watching the most right here is still this one. The entirety of 2023 so far, this trend line was support, then became resistance, and currently it is resistance. So discounting this, in my opinion, is silly. I think this is very important to be watching. We were able to kind of get above this trend line here, but if you really look, there's no concrete breaks above it. We've been straddling to get above this. Now, there are two scenarios here. Realistically, I think two levels to look for. One to the upside, one to the downside. If we get a strong rejection here, very likely we could be seeing a 32,000 and maybe even a little lower and a quick wick pullback. That is where all of this substantial volume is. You can look on the VPVR right around this level, a little above 30,000. I think it will be immense support. But as I've been saying since we broke above 30K weeks ago, I've been saying I will get even more bullish once we break above this, but then get a retest of it, which requires a retest means we'll have to get dumped on. So something, say, like that. And so myself, you, literally nobody knows when that could happen. But I think, based on everything we've seen in these markets, that would be more healthy than never going back to test it again. Especially now where there's a lot of, over the past few weeks, all the excitement about the Bitcoin spot ETF approvals. It's still there. People are still very excited about it, but we didn't get the approvals in that 8-day window that people were talking about or whatever that ended last week or quite a while ago. And now everyone's looking again for that January 10th approval. I still think it's very likely we'll get the approvals around that time, but if we have some sort of a cool off, backing off, little bearish dumpy before then, guys, that's exactly what Bitcoin has always done. That's not a bad thing. Now, if you really want to zoom out though on Bitcoin's longer term charts, it is very bullish. Do you guys remember, if you've been watching these videos back in May, when we got this bullish cross in the MACD, for me, it was like, wow, I mean, here we go. This signal literally happens once every cycle. We just got it. This is going to be big. And yes, price has gone up a lot since then. Alts have really started going up a little bit. If we really think about it, of the entire bull market, they've really not gone up that much because I think they have so much more to go up. Most charts have this peak in 2021 and then this flatlining. And now we're seeing the teensy-weensiest little increase in price again, but it's still massive dumpage. So I think alts, obviously, Bitcoin have so much more room to run. But when that signal flipped about 6 or 7 months ago, that's when I was, in my opinion, even more convinced, hey, we're about to have some bullish price action. Now, this chart also is just a very good illustration of this breakout. We've been talking about this falling wedge since before it broke out. Let's say, we fast forward to where we are now. You have to go basically a year later. We've continued to break out of here. If we have a move that happens like this, right? What would that move be? If we fast forward another year and this is what price action looks like, or roughly like this, is that bullish or bearish? I think it's very clear that's still a confirmed breakout. That's still bullish. And in fact, this is not even the most likely scenario. Would be more something more sharp, more pumpy. In fact, the initial breakout stages of this were kind of sideways and kind of underwhelming. Just most recently, this break above 35 to about 38K has become a little more convincing and a little more bullish, and it looks more like a true breakout. But as the longer this pattern goes on, and especially as we head into the halving in the Bitcoin spot ETFs, guys, this looks like a very realistic chart as well. Take a look at that. Let's say we dump for the next month. But then we have that move where we get back above all-time highs around 70 or about 69K. Nice. And then we break above 100K, and then we break above 150K into like the middle of 2024. That, we'll look back in time and think, wow, this was like a mega, giga, absolutely gigantic breakout. So still makes perfect sense. We're seeing the stock market. Again, I want to continue watching the stock market here after we kind of broke that double top that was potentially forming there. Bitcoin as well did something bullish last week where it broke its double top that was forming right around 38,000. We finally got a clean break to put in new yearly highs, and then we got a rejection, but that's absolutely normal, natural, and the way things move in the markets. So with that being said, alts also, though, are down today. So is Bitcoin, because really Bitcoin is trying to find that next level support, I think. And the longer we test right where we're at this 21-day moving average, the more likely I think it becomes that we have a pullback. Now, is that bad? Well, I think if you've been watching this video, you probably know my opinion on it, if it's bad or not. I would say no. In fact, as I've been saying, I would be looking to enter long positions on a pullback, especially around the $32,000 level if we get down there, and also potentially any new alts that I want to dip my tip into. I have most of my crypto in the top alts, the top coins like Bitcoin and then ETH, Cardano, stuff like that. But over the past few weeks, I have been looking to diversify a teensy-weensy little amount into some of those baby coins that could make me millions or could make me lose that money that I put in entirely and make no money from it. And if we have a dip down to 32,000, you better believe alts will probably get banged up a little bit, right? They'll probably be diddled and they'll probably be pretty banged up. So if that's the case, I'm looking to long the coins that I'm currently longing or just add more to my position, but also to maybe get into some of those positions, whether it's probably spot positions of some of those baby alts that maybe have looked good over the past month and we start to see some life breathed into them. We get that pullback. Maybe that's that prime opportunity to dip our fingers into the trash coin bin, or at least that's what I'm considering. So extremely big. As well, if you guys are interested in any bonuses or trading, make sure to check out the links to Femex and BitGet below. You can also get massive amounts of spot or a lot of altcoins via spot if you just want to accumulate coins with those links as well below. Without any further ado, it's for me.